Wow. So much to get to here. Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, and we're broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul. We thank our great sponsors today, Alpine Cabinetry and East St. Cloud. Warren Wessel of Warren Wessel Realty. If you're looking for a home, buying or selling a home, give my good friend Warren a call. If you're looking for a home in Florida and Texas, he doesn't know anything about that. You can't possibly. Don't leave us. Don't go to Florida and Texas. How dare you? I know enough people that are doing that, by the way. That's why I'm saying it. And I don't blame him, okay? But we're fighting for your freedom here in Minnesota. Give Warren a call, 612-419-7453. He is licensed in Wisconsin. Okay, so I guess if you're going to Wisconsin, you give Warren a call. If you're buying a home, give John Galt Mortgage Company a chance at financing your home. Good guys. They think like you and me. By the way, they're libertarians. That's what we're going to talk about today. Libertarians who started a company named after the great hero libertarian John Galt. Who is John Galt? You can go to johngaltmortgage.com and find out more about him. Joining me, not as usual, Megan Jesse's not here. It's an empty seat. Bridget is gone. She's on vacation. Now Jesse's on vacation. I was on vacation last week. Apparently the show didn't fall apart. Apparently they did a good job. You know what? I actually watched it, Dawson. It wasn't bad. What was your thoughts on that show?
No, I thought it was fun. I think that Mark is really, really in his element now with hosting stuff. I'm impressed by how much he's gotten better. And then having Royce White, he did great too. And then Wiesenberg was here. It was a solid show, yeah.
And I thought Liskey was coming on the show, Senator Liskey, but he didn't end up on the show.
He ended up telling us in our comments section that he wasn't going to show up like 15 minutes into the show. So
Unprofessional. We'll have to bring him back at a different time. He probably was just protesting because I wasn't there, you know. How dare Mark Bashofsky and Megan Jesse take over this show. All right, well, that's Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson Run the Dials. So we got so much to talk about. Because I have no one else here, I'm going to be very reliant on your audience comments, okay? So if you're on Rumble, and I'm going to be watching the Rumble stream up there, make sure you comment. If you want to interrupt me, which I don't blame you for doing, right? It's just me. I know you're here for Megan Jesse. Let's be honest. That's the real talent in the room. But if you want to interrupt me at any time, hit that Rumble rant, and also make sure you like and subscribe on this show. The other funny thing, just before we get started on the subject, I tried filling Jesse's seat. Everyone's so busy, and this is what it's like in Minnesota. You start the end of May. It's just everyone's got other things going on. So we're going to still try to tackle, because there's important news. By the way, I'm up at the cabin, and I realize, you know, it's like one of those things where if we were here at the same point in 2023, we would think like this is a crazy scenario. But Donald Trump right now, I think the closing arguments are happening, okay? They're about to deliberate. The jury's about to deliberate and can convict him of a felony and jail time, right? Well, I guess he'll get sentenced by the judge. Like, that's literally happening to the top presidential candidate right now. So it's like, you know, if you told me that a year ago, I would have been like, that's crazy. That's not going to happen, right? This is just going to be another election year. That's literally what's about to happen. So, you know, it was actually kind of nice. By the way, did you go up north on Memorial Day?
Yeah, I ended up going home to Detroit Lakes. It was super, super nice up there. And yeah, just had a relaxing weekend.
You know, failed candidate says Trump will get convicted. I don't know. I think if I was a betting man, I'd say hung jury. Razzle dazzle afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll. I don't know where the ladies are. None of us have identified as a lady here today. Chucker says Jake is worried he's going to be replaced. I know. Got it. Totally true. Okay. Breaking news from over the weekend. This is breaking news because who the hell's paying attention to this shit over Memorial Day weekend? Let's just be honest. That's the first day of the summer for Minnesota, right? The official summer starts. Okay, so Dave Lizagard, who is one of the con artists. Pull up this graphic. There were 6 con artist Democrat House members from Greater Minnesota. He happens to be one of the Iron Rangers. He's that one right there in the middle. Just announced he's not running for re-election. So that makes all 6 of the con artists, and these are the people that voted to get rid of Governor Walz's emergency powers in 2020. And then when they had a smaller majority in the Minnesota House in 2021, these 6 con artists flipped their votes to protect Governor Walz. And so, as you know, Action for Liberty went door knocking, lit dropping, phone calling, everything they could in that neighborhood, putting the pressure on Dave Lizagard. That guy has seen the writing on the wall. He's the last one. 6 con artists now gone. Rodeo 55 says, I heard Trump speak at the Libertarian Convention. Wow. Yeah, I know. We're going to get to that. We are so going to get to that. It's going to be great. Okay, so let's roll right into it. Here we go. We got Donald Trump speaking to the Libertarian Party. The show's called Why Libertarians Matter. Okay, so I think it's safe to say I'm a libertarian. I generally take that moniker with with pride. Okay, I also easily would call myself a conservative, right? Today I just kind of describe myself as, a guy who's against basically the ruling elite. I'm for the common man. Okay, now I don't believe being for the common man is instituting more power to the state so they can redistribute goods and services. I don't think that's helping the common man. In fact, I think that's actually helping the ruling elite. Okay? So there are people that would call themselves a Marxist, might say they're for the common man, but they don't see, they're either being dishonest intellectually, or maybe they really, haven't thought this one through. Okay? So that's the views I have, and obviously a bias towards liberty. T-Wall for life. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to you as well. Where's the best looking one of Truth Hurts today? It's Tuesday. Yeah, I know. Razzle dazzle. Bridget's still on vacation. I know we know who he's talking about, and probably second best Jesse, right? Jake, you're a conservative libertarian tendency, says failed candidate. Vacation. T-Wall, I am not a Democrat. We know that, T-Wall. You're a patriot. That's what you are. Okay, so libertarian, right? Libertarian is somebody who believes in the non-aggression principle. As long as you're not harming another individual, you should be free to do something of your own volition, right? Okay. Now, I always make this joke. There's only 57 libertarians, because you put a bunch of libertarians in a room and they're going to find every little minor disagreement they could possibly have. But there is actually a big split amongst libertarians. And one of those big splits is abortion, okay? And so you get something called like a right libertarian and a left libertarian, and I would be a right libertarian in the sense, because you can't aggress on a baby inside the womb. Some people don't want to be honest and say that that's a baby. That's actually the problem with the left. The left doesn't want to define when life begins, okay? Once life begins, you can't aggress on that individual, okay? That is a human being with rights. So it falls in line with the non-aggression principle. So libertarians have a split. The split actually gets a little bit more thorough, to the point where the Libertarian Party, how do I put this, has a lot of left-leaning tendencies on the social issues, meaning they almost promote like the pride agenda, okay? And a libertarian like me would be like, you can do whatever the hell you want in the confines of your bedroom, okay? I do think we have a right to protect our children, but you have the right to do what you want, live free, as long as you're not hurting me. That's my viewpoint, okay? But they go a little far, some people in the Libertarian Party. There's also libertarians, I don't know how this is possible, who got COVID wrong. They literally got COVID wrong. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, because they just endorsed that guy for president. But what was really fascinating, and we talked about this, and this is the sad thing, is Mega Jesse can't be here, because Mega Jesse was so excited about this, that Donald Trump is going to be addressing the Libertarian Party, their national convention in Washington, D.C. By the way, why is the Libertarian Party meeting in Washington, D.C.? I've always wondered, that does not make sense for them. All right, so Trump actually comes and speaks to the Libertarian Party. That is the first time a former president has addressed the Libertarian Party's national convention. By the way, it wasn't only Trump, it was also RFK Jr., another, I guess you could kind of say, major candidate. He's polling, 15 to 20%? So I think that's pretty major, right? So both of them addressed the Libertarian Convention in D.C. Also, Vivek Ramaswamy addressed it. Senator Mike Lee, former Congressman Ron Paul, all addressing this convention. So you got some big names. What do you got? Oh, I'm sorry. You look like you wanted to say something.
No, I didn't know that Vivek was still alive. I didn't know he was doing stuff.
Well, Vivek's obviously got a future in politics. I mean, maybe he's one of the leading contenders for the Trump vice presidential nominee, failed candidate, says the biggest problem with libertarianism is that liberals don't let people fail. Tucker says, vote for me only if you want to win. Okay, I'm going to get to that comment there, Tucker, because that one's dynamite. So let's dive right in to Donald Trump at the Libertarian Party. How many of you guys actually saw this, the whole speech, right? Like, you probably had other things going on this weekend, right? Memorial Day weekend. So I didn't watch the speech till today, but it was damn good. Okay, so first of all, probably my favorite personality in politics is Dave Smith. Okay, he's a comedian. He's a member of the Libertarian Party, part of what we call the Mises faction, or the Mises caucus. He's been on Joe Rogan a lot of times. In fact, he was just on Joe Rogan last week. I'm making my way through that episode. Very good guy. I don't know his whole, catalog of viewpoints, but from the ones that I do know, I don't think I've had any disagreements with Dave Smith. Okay, so Dave Smith actually gets to address the Libertarian convention a little bit before Trump. I think he was 2 speakers before Trump. And he's got a message because the dynamics of the room are really interesting. And Mega Jesse broke this down. But there are a lot of people in the Libertarian Party that are like, why the hell would we have Donald Trump speak to us? Donald Trump's not a Libertarian. So then you got the MAGA people that were let into the Libertarian Party convention. So you got these 2 factions. Really interesting, right? Very interesting stuff. So Dave Smith, this is his advice to both factions. Let's go ahead and play this thing.
There's, broadly speaking, I think 2 groups of people here. Okay? No, but I'm serious. There are members of the Libertarian Party, and there are people who came here to support Donald Trump. Listen, I have a message for both of you individually. I hear you. To the members of the Libertarian Party, which I am also one. Guys, listen, here's my message to the Libertarians here. The former president of the United States of America and the current frontrunner to be the next president is here to talk to you. We are not a bunch of college leftist sissies. We believe in free speech. So be respectful. I'm not telling you you have to agree with him, and I'm not telling you you have to cheer for him. But we're not having like Jordan Peterson at Berkeley event here. And the message we're sending to the world is not that we can't handle ideas that we disagree with. We are libertarians. We are constantly surrounded by ideas that we disagree with. We're in Washington, D.C., for God's sake. And here's my message to the Donald Trump supporters who are here. You came to the Libertarian Party National Convention, and we're libertarians around these parts. So let me tell you a little bit about what we believe in case you're not sure. Here's what we believe. Donald Trump, as President of the United States of America, was framed for treason by his own deep state. And those people belong in jail. It is an absolute crime against our nation that the intelligence agencies that supposedly work for the president would dare frame a presidential candidate. But they crossed a whole nother line when they framed the sitting commander-in-chief, and not one of them has paid for that. And that is unacceptable. Around these parts, we are truly America first. We believe in no foreign adventurism. We are strict non-interventionists. The proxy wars of choice following 20 years of disastrous terror wars in Ukraine and in Israel are absolutely inexcusable, and America should have no part of either of them. We are $34 trillion in debt.
All right, so, there was this talk that Dave Smith was going to be the presidential candidate in this election cycle. I'm just being honest. That's the kind of guy that I would like to see, right? I agree with him on the points. He literally can put an argument together very well constructed, which is something that clearly Biden can't do, right? Libertarian Party, if they were ever to get more than the 3%, as Tucker was going to say, they're going to need somebody clear thinking and presentable like Dave Smith, who, by the way, is a comedian. So, comedians generally, if they're good, they have to be able to communicate to people. By the way, that's one reason Donald Trump is so damn good as a candidate, is the guy came up in reality TV. Like, you don't get in reality TV and not know how to, get to the heart of Americans, right? Let's just assume that most of the people watching this show are not your typical voters, right? Typical voters don't pay attention to the election until the very, end of October, September at best, right? They're not paying attention to all this stuff. So you need someone to kind of communicate to them in a little different way. That's not our job here. Our job here is to get into the weeds with people that got a little more of attention span that can investigate and research, okay? So, anyhow, that is Dave Smith. Okay, so I thought that was a great stage to set before Donald Trump comes to speak. So here we go. We got Donald Trump, the 45th President of the United States, addressing the LP National Convention. The first time this has ever happened, a former president addressing the LP National Convention. Here's his opening remarks.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Angela, for that introduction. And I am truly honored to be invited here tonight as the first president in American history to address the Libertarian National Convention. Great honor. A lot of people ask why I came to speak at this Libertarian Convention, and it's an interesting question, isn't it? But we're gonna have a lot of fun. Well, in the last year, I've been indicted by the government on 91 different things, so if I wasn't a libertarian before, I sure as hell am a libertarian now. And unlike Joe Biden, I don't throw people in jail for disagreeing with me. I don't do that. I want to thank some people that have been really outstanding, and they are great libertarians and great people. Ambassador Rick Grinnell, Senator Mike Lee, Kash Patel, and Senate candidate who's going to win from Virginia, Hung Cao. I also want to pay our deepest respects to the two young missionaries from Missouri, Davy and Natalie Lloyd,
all right, so
that were vicious.
So this is Trump, and you can hear it. It is a mixed audience. Now, Dawson, I got to ask you this question.
Yep.
When you listen to that, do you feel like it's an even balance of boos and cheers? What are your thoughts?
That's a tough one because there's a lot of things I have to account for that kind of thing. I mean, we see how it gets messed up all the time, even in Minnesota Senate. But it sounds just about even though I think the boos carry harder.
And I think boos, just by the way that your mouth forms.
Exactly.
Yeah, it carries a little bit more. I don't think it was close. I think it was more heavily booed from people on the ground, okay? Now, you can imagine the Libertarian Party leadership designed the stage and probably let in MAGA people. And how are they doing the audio here? I mean, the crowd audio is being picked up by just a general microphone, but the unit's still going to be with a camera, right?
So no, not for something like this. They would have cameras up in the ceiling that are, or microphones. They'd have probably like if I had to imagine, based on the size of the thing, probably 4 microphones in the ceiling. That
You think
are just
they set up in the ceilings, the media?
probably not. I mean, is this one coming from specifically Right Side Broadcasting
Yes.
Network? Then I guess it depends on how lavish the whole entire thing is, because people could tap into ceiling microphones if they had them.
Yeah. Well, my point I guess I'm trying to make is it almost sounds evenly distributed. It doesn't sound like from people on the ground it was, which actually just shows how much more baller Donald Trump is. Like, imagine facing, I guess you could kind of perceive it as a hostile crowd, at least a crowd that's not favored to you. And remember, Donald Trump doesn't go into these hostilities in campaign speeches. Now, he does debates, okay? Actually, he didn't do any debates this year, but he did those town halls, right, with CNN. Although the audience actually was a lot of times big MAGA supporters. So, you know, it's one thing for him to go talk to an audience of 20,000 MAGA supporters. This is a totally different audience. It's pretty badass that he did it. I got to admit. Woo and boos sound the same, but Tucker, there's no way those were woos. Trust me, they were boos. Although I did have some people in there. Trump isn't afraid of anything, says Rodeo 55. And, you got to kind of agree with that, because at this point, can you imagine being Donald Trump and having like 91 charges, 4 indictments? God. Brad Ganser, I love that Trump is going to places like Libertarian Convention and the Bronx. That's right. And Razzle Dazzle, so do the ones that committed voter fraud, they belong in jail as well? Yeah, exactly. If we could ever prove that. All right, so I think Trump had... So once again, imagine you're Donald Trump, okay? You're not a libertarian, okay? Although I love the line, I should be a libertarian now. But he's not a libertarian. He did not shrink the size and scope of government. If you want to solve the deep state, if you want to solve the swamp, you don't fund the swamp. That's exactly the opposite of what you do. You got to cut the funding, and he did not do that. Now let's hope he does it, right? He did say he's becoming a libertarian, so if you want to be libertarian, you cannot continue passing budgets that grow government. All right, so he needs to woo over this crowd. The most common thing he should have with all libertarians in this room, and I think it's for the most part true, is the problem with the Joe Biden, as he called it, the regime, the Biden regime. And I think that's an appropriate name, by the way. All right, so this is the long list of the Biden regime and why libertarians, and by the way, why everyone with a reasonable mind should vote against Joe Biden, whether that's for a different party or for Donald Trump. This is the reason you can't support a guy like Joe Biden. Let's play this.
America can be a free nation once again. He's the worst in history. The Biden regime censors its critics, spies on its opposition, takes away the bank accounts of U.S. citizens as an extra form of punishment, persecutes Christians and patriotic parents, and is currently trying to put the leading candidate for president in jail. That happens to be me. While imposing a strict gag order in order to keep me from talking about their crimes and their unconstitutional acts. They want to get rid of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, due process, the right to a fair trial, and the right to counsel, all the while pushing wealth confiscation and waging endless and unnecessary wars all over the globe. Anyone can talk about defending freedom, but I've actually put everything on the line to resist these despots and
Very
these
true.
stuff.
By the way, just stop it right there. Just stop. You can't argue the point that this guy is now risking jail time. He's already lost $500 million, or at least has $500 million tied up in New York and can't do business anymore. And everyone believes it's because he's running for president again. This guy's put way more in the line than anyone else since maybe our founding fathers. Go ahead.
And I stand before you tonight as your best hope of defeating the weaponized Biden and the very evil regime that his people, because it's probably not him because he doesn't know where the hell he is, but that his people are pursuing. You can make the difference. The Libertarian Party can make a big difference. The Libertarian Libertarian Party can make a big difference. Together, we can make America freer than ever before for citizens of all backgrounds and all walks of life. We can unleash new hope, optimism, and energy. We can release limited governments.
That's good right there. So a great list on why libertarians and, quite frankly, any reasonable person should be against Joe Biden. Hate Minnesota says Trump doesn't have anything to be afraid of. The liberals have already dragged him through the 7 circles of hell the past 8 years. Very good point. Susie Scarella says, sorry, but Trump is 100% correct here. You don't need to apologize, Susie. That is a great point. Brad Ganser, Trump is becoming a libertarian by the day. I mean, that's, once again, like my argument for voting for Donald Trump in this election cycle, despite all the issues that I've raised with them, and Mega Jesse has defended some of them. But it's the fact that if you ever think somebody's going to be motivated to actually fix some of the big problems in Washington, D.C., like the deep state, it would be him. They literally want to throw the guy in prison. They literally want to rob him of every penny. I mean, have you ever seen more motivation to solve these problems? I hope to God he does. I don't know. I have no idea if he's going to do it. Okay, let's get to Tucker's comment on the 3% because this is just great. So once again, Trump goes in. It's not the belly of the beast, so to speak, but it's not a friendly audience, right? Like, libertarians have real issues with Donald Trump, like perhaps maybe the way that he handled Anthony Fauci and handled the COVID crisis, right? Although he did a lot better on COVID than Joe Biden, obviously. So here's Trump's statement. Get some booze. I'm going to put it this way. I'm a libertarian, okay? I've never belonged to the Libertarian Party, okay? They call us small L libertarians, people that probably work through the Republican Party because it's one of the 2 major parties in the United States of America. Not that I have a problem with a third party. I hope third parties can survive and do well, because I think part of the problem is we have a uniparty, a 2-party system that's kind of merged together and it's the same heads. But with that being said, I've never been what they call a big L libertarian, actually involved with the Libertarian Party, because they generally don't do well with whatever race they're running in. I would gladly vote for a libertarian, as long as they got a good chance, right? And I would support it to try to give them that good chance. But in the end of the day, you usually see libertarians just don't do well, at least in presidential politics. Now, that changes, by the way, city councils, even maybe the legislature in places like, New Hampshire. So it can happen. I'm just saying, for presidential candidates, I don't know, what was the top they've ever gotten? Like 3 to 5%, somewhere in there? All right, so here's Donald Trump on the Libertarian Party endorsing him. This is great.
Trump will address the Libertarian Party at its national convention on Saturday. The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice. Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Thank you, D-Roy. Thank you. No, only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years. The reasons for doing so, policy and politics, are as solid as the Hope Diamond. D-Roy says this event is very unprecedented.
By the way, he goes on this whole long segment quoting D-Roy Murdoch. He's a Fox News contributor, columnist. So I can't get inside Trump's head here. But for about a good, 5 minutes, he keeps referring to himself in the third person here. What am I trying to say? Third person.
Yep.
Yeah, third person. He keeps saying Trump this, Trump that. And I almost feel like he just conveniently did that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, he actually says this often, but he went on like this 5-10 minute section where I was like, wait a second, is he really just doing this? Like, calling himself Trump? But he was actually supposedly quoting DeRoy for 5-10 minutes. Hilarious thing about Trump. But, it's a really good point he's trying to make. My issue with libertarianism is it seems to me it's the best policies, okay? That's why I'm a small libertarian. It's the best policies that we could advocate for. Limited government. But libertarianism doesn't really work when it comes to organizing, which is fine, by the way. That is okay with me. But it's why it's probably never going to work too well as a party, okay? By the way, the left's far better off organizing political parties because they're collectivists. They join coalitions much easier. Libertarians, we all hate each other. Not really. But we find those factions much more because we're individualist, right? So it's tough. And, I think it was Michael Mellis said this. The libertarian governance doesn't work because the best libertarian government that's ever existed is the United States in its original foundation, which is very true. Like, if you think about the Constitution, that's a libertarian government. And it failed. It failed in the sense that it's 180 degrees different than what it is when it was originally designed.
I think that Trump accidentally showed some colors that he didn't mean to show in that statement, actually. When he was saying, like, vote for me only if you want to win, right? Which he's kind of right. That's just libertarian candidates never gotten very much. But that's just him straight up saying, disregard your values, vote for me. I want to win, vote for me. If you want to win with me, vote for me. Otherwise, I don't care about you. You're against me,
Well, that is Trump in a...
I mean, yeah, that is him, but to me that's showing off that he's coming here, like, I think that he's probably going to keep on growing the government when he gets in because, I mean, that's what presidents seem to do most of the time. And so to me this seems, I don't know if grift is the right word, but it feels like him going to them, saying what they want to hear or what he thinks they want to hear, and then hoping that they vote for him. That's what I read from this. I don't know.
But see, that's the beauty of it. Is he actually has to go there, right?
Well,
he actually recognized this is why Donald Trump's doing it. Because in the margins, this might actually matter. This might be so razor thin that he has to actually go to this faction, which is a tiny faction. Dave Smith says it. We are surrounded by people that don't believe in our ideas. Mm-hmm. And I don't think libertarians can really successfully organize just as libertarians. However, right, before someone goes, oh, that's fraud, the solution to most of our problems are libertarian principles. So it's almost as if you need a guy like Donald Trump, a mega movement, whatever it is, and then you hope they embrace those libertarian principles as the policy. Does that make sense? You see what I'm trying to say?
I mean, if we're going in hoping that Trump will do what he says this time, then, I mean, I guess so.
And it's a great point, and I'm always skeptical of it, but at least he realizes he needs to account for these liberty principles, these libertarian ideas.
Well, to me that
But he's not going to join the Libertarian Party because
right.
It's incapable of organizing to an extent to be, a political power.
To me, that reads that he has to politically stoop so low as to go to the party that hates politics in general, it seems like, or, big government.
But why do you say stoops low? I don't understand why he has to stoop so low.
As a Republican, which he's running for the Republican seat as far as I know, it's like that's the point of the Republican Party, is to grow the government in their way, right? It's at least that's what it seems like a lot of time.
By the way, it's not supposed to be, but I don't want to object to what you're saying here.
Right.
Asla says it made sense as a candidate trying to get to grab their 1.5 to 3%.
Right. And so I just think it looks like Trump going to get more votes. I mean, he's doing what a presidential candidate should do. So
yes, he needs to go to constituencies, and they are voters, right? I would imagine most of these libertarians are voting. Is he
worried that it's gonna be close? I thought that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, you should play it that way, right?
I suppose so. Yeah. That's a smart thing to do.
I mean, he's doing well, but who knows where this thing ends up? So, anyhow, Trump. I hope I'm making my point across here. I just don't see libertarians being a great organizing philosophy or organizing tool. Okay, the Libertarian Party just can't. In many regards, I hate the power structures that exist, but that's just that's just the natural tendency of humankind, is to try to gain more power. And so the solution to all these problems are these libertarian principles. We need to shrink the government. You want to drain the swamp? You need to shrink the government. That's the solution. Just don't plan on the Libertarian Party to muster some big political unit to actually take this on. Now, that's actually one reason, if I could get a little nerdy here, I like the way the Mises Caucus took an approach to the Libertarian Party. It wasn't just necessarily to get a presidential candidate and win big elections. It's also to get those principles out there. And that's why guys like me, which you call like a small L libertarian, and a lot of my, tight-knit group, Eric Mortensen, good case in point, Action for Liberty president. Eric Mortensen is as libertarian as they come. And by the way, he was a state rep as a Republican. Ron Paul, pretty much the godfather of modern-day libertarianism, was a, 12-term Republican congressman from Texas. So generally speaking, if you want to organize in some regards, it just doesn't seem like it makes sense to me to do that within the Libertarian Party, because it's never going to be effective in the regards of being a real political force. Now, once again, knowing people in the Libertarian Party ranks, especially the Mises Caucus, that wasn't necessarily their goal, and for that, I commend them. And, by the way, it was the Mises Caucus leadership that brought Donald Trump there. So, good on them for that. Rodeo 55, I think Trump is trying to join as many parties together against Democrats as possible. We need unity. By the way, Donald Trump also very effective at getting Democrats to switch over and vote for him. We saw it firsthand here in the Iron Range in Minnesota, and, the traditional Democrat supporting police unions, right? But other unions as well. Rodeo 55, Libertarians are voters too. Exactly. They, as individuals, make up a constituency. And he says that at some point in the speech, that even if you don't endorse me, just vote for me, right? One of the two things. And I think he earned votes, and I'm going to go to why I think he did in this next segment. Billy22, is he worried that it's going to be close? Has the algorithm been taking out the voting machines? Of course they will make it look close. You don't know. Should be a landslide victory here, but we'll see. And I'm still waiting for that Black Swan event. Who knows? Okay, so this is Donald Trump. So the audience, and you can see the signs, it says Free Ross. Ross Ulbricht, the founder of Silk Road, is in prison for a lifetime, like double lifetime sentence. Are you familiar with the Silk Road? You were pretty young.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
It was like a website that was obviously like anything, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not bad, but Bitcoin's used by drug cartels, right? So people use this website, and I'm not a tech guy, so it's hard for me to describe it, but basically in a way to get past like law enforcement. So they actually threw the book at this guy. Seems like a young entrepreneur that wasn't necessarily a bad dude, and they gave him like double life sentences. I have to read up a little bit more on Ross. It's been a while, but it was, I don't know why this is all of a sudden, because I'm not in the interworkings of the Libertarian Party, why Free Ross was their big thing. It's usually Assange, which is a journalist. Julian Assange should be a free man. He's a journalist. And even more importantly, Edward Snowden, who to me is heroic for actually exposing the government working against its own constitution. So, but they went with Free Ross. So here's Donald Trump actually, you could say, bending the knee to the libertarians in the audience. Maybe he really believes it, but giving them a reason to vote for him and actually throwing a lot of them off. Watch this. Oh, jeez.
And I will ensure that libertarians are helping to lead that task force. You'll be on that task force, many of you. As everyone knows, it will be my great honor to pardon the peaceful January 6th protesters, or as I often call them, the hostages. They're hostages. There has never been a group of people treated so harshly or unfairly in our country's history. This abuse will be rectified, and it will be rectified very quickly. And if you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served. He's already served 11 years. We're going to get him home. We're going to get him home. I'm proud that...
And I do kind of wonder, like, does he know about Ross? Like, I don't, like...
It seems like it seems like he's saying whatever will make people happy in the crowd.
But then he goes, he's already served 11 years, so it's like he's
So
at
he
least
does
been
he does know
informed.
something, yeah. And if he did, I mean, that would be great. But I don't know. I'm so used to politicians just lying that it's like I don't believe it until they actually do it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll call him out. See, this is the thing. If Trump gets reelected, which I think is going to happen at this point, if he gets elected, this is the problem with the whole center-right atmosphere. At least the Libertarians will still hold them accountable, but you get this like cult of personality where almost Trump can't do wrong, or maybe worse, maybe not, you get complacency. Well, Trump got elected. Now is the time you fight, you know? Now is the time to actually rid this country of this deep state that's running the show. So,
Also-
and that's what we'll do on this show, right?
I did have one more thing to say. I think that Trump said that the January 6th people were the people treated the absolute worst ever in the history of the country.
Peaceful. He said peaceful
Yeah.
protesters.
Yeah.
I know you could make the argument slaves. I see where you're going on that, but well, once again, I mean, it's pretty bad what they've done to some of these peaceful protesters.
Nowhere close. But yeah, it's not great. Yeah. I think of the Japanese internment camps in World War II. That's where my mind goes.
Which happened under a Democrat, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible, right?
I mean,
but it's like that. I mean, that was based on race, not race.
I'm just chucking out
race?
that I'm just throwing out there that he's lying again. Or hyperbole, I guess, but same idea.
And then it's our job to hold this guy accountable.
Agreed.
I mean, in fact, you can hold him accountable on Freedom Ross pretty easily because didn't he say first day?
I mean, yeah. The one that I mainly remember him for his first running was the Hillary thing, the Hillary Clinton emails or whatever. Did she ever, like he said he was going to throw her in jail, do all these things. Did that ever happen? I don't
No,
know.
and in many regards, I'm glad he didn't do that because that would be a bad precedent, right?
I mean, but
although
he said he'd do it.
right. Yeah, I mean, it was a great line in the debate, but, I mean, that would have been really bad.
That's the reason why I don't vote in a lot of these things, because it's just like...
Yes, it's a bunch of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to call it out on both sides, right? That's the thing, is we got to call it the bullshit. My point here is Trump knows he needs a faction of people, and so he's delivering to a crowd, and I think he caught people off guard here. I think he said also freeing Julian Assange, but I have to go back to my notes. So, at this point, that's better than him not addressing it, right? There's these chants for in the Fed. Well, Trump's not going to end the Fed, okay? Unfortunately, I would love for that to happen. He's just not going to do it because he's not on that side. He actually likes low interest rates, artificially low interest rates. He criticizes the Fed for keeping interest rates too high. Ugh. Well, anyhow. But he is very much like us on the war issue, right? Much more humble foreign policy than the others. He literally talked to North Korea, which the left just hated him for talking to North Korea. It's like, why? Don't you want to stop war? I actually believe him that Russia would be much more humble than what they're doing, and he probably could solve that issue. I don't know about the Israel one. He took credit. He says it would never happen under my watch. I'm like, I don't know about that one, but Trump thinks he can assert himself in 70 years of, well, hundreds of years, thousands of years, but more recently 70 years of like just awful foreign policy. So I don't know. Tucker 91. It would set a precedent for him to be jail dust, and nobody actually wanted Hillary locked up. They just wanted her to take accountability for her misdeeds, and that's a tricky one.
I don't think that that's true at all. I think plenty of people wanted Hillary locked up. Whether or not Donald Trump should have done it or could have done it, whatever, but absolutely people wanted her locked up, and I bet that at a point Trump did too, because it was ridiculous what she was going through, like what she was trying to hide or whatever. It's stupid. That stuff was ridiculous. So yeah, people wanted her locked up. He said that he'd lock her up. People heard him, people believed him, and then he didn't. So I don't know.
Hey, Minnesota, how many water main breaks and power outages will happen around 6 p.m. on election day? Funny point. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot says, I wanted Hillary locked up. I just think it's problematic if you were to do that. So that's a bad precedent. But you're right, Dawson. He said it. I think what he said, he said it in a kind of a snarky, funny way though, because she's like, it was in a debate, and Hillary said something like, "Well, you'll never be president." He's like, "Well, yeah, because if I was, you'd be in jail or something like that."
Yeah, well, he said it, I'm sure, a million times, because on the campaign trail, that's what people were rooting for. So
what he did say is he wants to drain the swamp, and the swamp grew under his presidency. That's the bigger problem, in my opinion.
yeah, I think I figured out my political affiliation.
What's
I think
that?
I'm a political nihilist. I think
Yeah?
that I just can't care.
What about the libertarian idea of non-aggression? Do you buy into that?
What? Can you remind me what that is?
Basically, that you can live your life the way you want as long as you're not aggressing against another individual.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I think that's a good way to go. It's kind of golden rule stylist stuff.
Yeah, very much so. Tucker 91. I forgot we have had no Rumble rants today. Just a reflection of how poorly I do this show alone. This show, listen, I know who. First, I'll read yours, and then I'll tell you my comment. Now we want her locked up after the truth of Russiagate coming up. Fair point. Actually, my last subject is going to be on people that really should be locked up at the NIH. I understand my job on this show. This is a hang, okay? I'm not so I don't know how Rush Limbaugh did this. Rush Limbaugh is very entertaining. He did 3 hours, with commercial breaks, 3 hours on his own. He was damn entertaining. My idea, and the way, if you guys know me individually, I know Brad and I know each other and some of these other people, I'm a conversationalist. I'm a good middler. That's my job. I'm a middler, right? I can keep the conversation going. There's no it's just me and Dawson. Dawson's a nihilist. I need my MAGA Jesse and Bridget here. Everyone's so busy. I should have asked Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Maybe you could have joined by Skype or something, or her. He or her. We don't know. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Okay. Almost blew your identity. LP picks a candidate eventually. I don't get in the nuances, but oh, God, it's just great. Okay, so the Libertarian Party picks the candidate, and I think it goes 5 ballots, and eventually the winner of the presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party in all 50 states, because they got ballot access in all 50 states, is a gentleman who seems to be as woke as they get, Chase Oliver. Let's pull up this image here of Chase Oliver here, Dawson. This is... Behold, the official Libertarian Party nominee for U.S. President Chase Oliver with a yellow mask. By the way, you could get Trump in a mask. There's pictures of Trump in a mask, so in fairness. But a yellow mask wearing the Pride Libertarian shirt. And then there's him with a more Pride. He is gay, so I guess you can understand why he goes that route. But this is like the guys like me who are right libertarian, because once again, there's only like 57 libertarians out there, right? So there's right libertarians, left libertarian, minarchist, anarchist, anarcho-capitalist. So, the guys like me that are right libertarians, like, what are you doing? You're doing pride festivals? Like, how about that's not part of the agenda? Like, how about we don't do identity politics just like the left, which is really a Marxist technique, right? How about we don't do that? How about we don't promote drag shows for children? Here is the Libertarian Party's presidential pick, Chase Oliver, on the Austin Peterson show about drag shows for children. Let's play this.
The drag queens, why do you think that the drag queens want to read to children?
Because I think that they are performance artists and they want to be able to have different levels of performance art. It's the same reason as why do the Wiggles sing to children? Because they want to have a marketplace to kids.
Chase,
they want to be able to. They want to be
the
able
Wiggles,
to.
The Wiggles is made for children. It's obviously family friendly material. Drag queens are not what you call family friendly kind of entertainment.
Okay, but a man in a dress is what drag is, right? Let's just be real. A man in a dress or a woman in a suit is what drag is. Mm-hmm. That is not inherently sexual. There is inherently sexual drag. And you're not going to convince me. I'm not going to defend otherwise. Sexual. There absolutely is. But there's also the ability to perform as a man in a wig without being sexual. And that is what this is. And I guarantee you, if you act like I said, I went for myself because I was like, why are there people protesting this thing? I want to see what this drag queen story time is myself, and I want to see what it is. And nothing sexual was going on. And I think that is the truth for 99% of this.
So
and I think
would you take your kids to a drag queen story hour? Or would you drop them off at a drag queen story hour? And
I don't think that's what happens. Most of the time, the parents are right there with the kids. But
I'm asking you, would you drop your kids off at a drag queen story hour and come back an hour later?
I mean, would you drop your kids off at a movie? Yeah.
Jeez. So there you go. That's the LP's pick for presidential candidate. You guys get on board here. That seems to be the Libertarian Party's move when it comes to presidential candidates every time. Is just get the leftist. I guess they're libertarian because maybe the left has abandoned this notion of no foreign wars, although for some reason they are against the war in Israel. It's like, but they love the Ukrainian war, you know. T-Wall for Life says avoided the question. Yeah, and then answers it at the end, but yeah, avoided it because he knows it's problematic. By the way, these are all like sexual, these drag shows. It's ridiculous. Drag is a kind of sexual thing. Like, I would say 99% are sexual, 1% is like a weird dress. You shaking your head? You don't agree with that? It's more sexual than it's not, right?
So the way that I saw it, I've been to drag shows before in college, they're kind of just, I don't know, uncomfy. But I also don't go to bars. So
why are they uncomfy?
Why then? Because there's a lot of people there. I don't like people very much.
That's not why.
That is the main reason why. And then the other
reason... It's just
reason,
because there's people there?
Yep. And then the other reason is because I went to, it was at a club. So those ones are typically inherently sexual. And I just can't imagine, someone going to a drag book reading, because as far as I know, drag performances are typically like strip dances or something.
Yeah.
But then there's RuPaul's Drag Race, which is just people dancing in cool outfits. I don't know. There's such a wide array of whatever that at some point you can't call it drag if it's just a guy in a dress, like the guy said. If it's a clown, like a dude with a big wig and a nose dressed up reading to kids, that's fine.
And it's obvious that the historic foundings of drag are, gay clubs, nighttime.
No. The very, very beginning of drag was Japanese theater, which is...
No, that's totally different.
Is it?
It's totally different.
I mean, I guess.
Men have been dressed up or presenting themselves as women in theater. That is a completely separate thing. That's not drag. Just because they wear women's clothes. If you had a person in women's clothes in a movie, it's not like what Big Mama's House, is that the Martin Lawrence one
or the Robin Williams one? Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
Great movie, by the way. That's not drag. Drag is a performance, as you were saying, basically sexual.
Well, I think
it's done in nightclubs.
I think that people would still call Mrs. Doubtfire drag.
Now they would. No. Listen, I remember when that movie came out. That was not how it was represented.
What's it called? There's a cross-dresser or what?
I mean, even cross-dressing is kind of like more of a tone of like that is a stylistic thing. Mrs. Doubtfire, he's trying to get with his nearest children. They went through a brutal divorce, so he fakes being this elderly woman. Have you not seen the movie?
It's a little bit different to watch that movie now, I think, than in the past. Interesting.
Anyhow, the origins of drag being in these nightclubs, gay nightclubs. It's like that's the origins, and then it's just so obvious to me that that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to normalize this stuff. That's why you see the pride flags and stuff in schools. Leave the damn children alone. Once again, libertarian, live your life the way you want to live it. Just don't affect children, right? Because once you affect me, that's where we got a problem, right? Especially if you aggress on our liberties. Gregory Eno, is that it? Gregory Eno 29. It was a man disguising as a female. Scotsman Golf. R.I.P. Robin Williams. I'm terrible at reading comments. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot backs me up. That was a movie where a guy wanted to see his kids. That's right. There you go. Okay. Next story here. Real quick. Somebody sent this to us. Seems to be legit. And you won't hear this from anyone else. HRCC, which is a political party unit of the Minnesota GOP. Okay, so imagine you got the Republican Party, Minnesota, big unit of one of the two major political parties in Minnesota, and then they have all these subunits authorized under them. Some of them are like down to the lowest level, like a House district or a county. Some of them are the official House Party unit. And so this is the HRCC. Pull up this graphic. It's having a fundraiser for Greg Davids, Brian Johnson, and Representative Ron Kreischa, hosted by House Republican leader Lisa DeMuth. Here's why this is a story, and this is tomorrow night, by the way. This is why this is a story. This is a official political party unit of the Republican Party. Greg Davids did not get endorsed. He got beat by another guy. Brian Johnson did not get endorsed. He got beat by another guy. And Ron Kreischa failed to get endorsed. There was no endorsement in that race. The Republican Party unit, HRCC, is literally hosting a fundraiser for candidates that are against the endorsed candidate. Like, now, I understand, in Otter Tail County, there is a certain, what do they call those things? A pledge? Is that the official term they use? A pledge that they will only support endorsed candidates? Boy, Tommy Miracle and you cronies over the Otter Tail County leadership, maybe that pledge should extend over to him. I'm sure they're going to be outraged by this, that an actual political party unit of the Republican Party is helping out unendorsed candidates. People that are literally primarying endorsed candidates. Brad Ganser, I know you care about this issue. Wouldn't you be shocked that there was probably going to be David Hand's probably not going to be outraged by this, although they're only a political party unit because they get the blessings of the Republican Party. All right, insider baseball, I understand, but once again, just more of the hypocrisy. Like, you've heard a lot about Otter Tail County on this show. Like, the whole reason this thing blew up is they were so butthurt that a bunch of people didn't support the endorsed candidate in Otter Tail County voting. Now you actually literally got a political party unit of the Republican Party going up against the endorsed candidates. Seems to be a problem to me. By the way, this is going back to the Libertarian Party. It's almost like the nice thing about Libertarian Party is you don't have to deal with these, buffoons here in the Republican Party. It's almost like, why even be involved in a party at all, right? And by the way, the Democrats are even worse. We never talked about this on the show, Mega Jesse's undercover work. Democrat undercover work. Maybe I shouldn't have blown that. We'll talk about it in the after show, by the way. For you in the after show, we'll talk about Mega Jesse's undercover work in the Democrat Party. It's so good stuff. If you're not a member, subscribe $8 a month. You get access to good content like this. So join on Rumble. We'll be doing our after show here in about 10 minutes. Okay, next story. And just so you understand where I was last week. My dad is 69 years old. Okay. He and I go backpacking on the Superior Hiking Trail, which is a pretty rugged trail in northern Minnesota. Goes all the way up to the Canadian border, which is actually where we ended up on this trip. We were finishing up a bunch of the sections, and we did the last section. And he's 69 years old, and he still does this, which is freaking awesome. Now, we ran into a 75-year-old on the trail, so he's not the oldest guy. But the fact that I could still do this with my dad, and we just made this tradition like mid to late May to do it. Kind of nice because the legislature gets done. So that was my regularly scheduled backpacking trip with my old man, which then obviously went right into Memorial Day weekend. So that's why I wasn't here. We didn't do a show on Thursday. Royce White, I guess, was in studio with and Nathan Wiesenberg giving a rundown in the end of the legislative session on Tuesday. And I think Jesse and Mark and Gunnar did a great job on the show. Mm-hmm. Really appreciate it. So there's a lot of things I missed, but I didn't see, let's see, May 23rd. Okay, so this one broke until end of the week. The NIH emails that came out. Have you seen this, Dawson? This is crazy.
I have no idea what this is.
Okay, pull up the story here. This is from the New York Post. By the way, I tried to not pay attention to too much in the world. K-Wall for Life's joining us. Royce was great. Thanks very much. By the way, we'll talk about these allegations against Royce in our member-only section after the after show, the post show. What do we call it? The post show. Just because I think it's important to get Royce's thoughts and stuff before we dive into it, but we'll do it for you guys, fans of the show, in the post show. Okay, so this is from the NIH. Advisor David Morans can't recall if he deleted COVID records, laughs off Fauci FOIA evasions. Now, by the way, this is like the right-hand man of Fauci. So this is like right during 2020 or right in the early parts of COVID. Top advisor at the National Institute of Health deleted records critical to uncovering the origins of COVID-19 and used, quote, a secret back channel to help Dr. Anthony Fauci and a federal grantee that funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China, evade transparency. Of course, he's talking about Peter Daszak here. NIH senior advisor Dr. David Morans improperly conducted official government business from his private email account and solicited help from the NIH's Freedom of Information Office to dodge records requests, according to emails revealed in a memo by the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, which the Post obtained Wednesday. Quote, I learned from our FOIA lady here how to make emails disappear after I am FOIA'd, but before the search starts, end quote, Morans wrote in a February 24th, 21 email. Quote, plus I deleted most of those earlier emails after sending them to the Gmail, end quote. You know, Dawson, I think about this time that I was in the military, which we could have FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests. I'm just thinking, like, if I did something like that, my butt is in jail so quickly. Like, I am in so much trouble if I did something like that. Here he is, and this is why we're against the deep state, which Fauci is the head of the deep state when it comes to the health infrastructure, literally saying that he deleted emails to subvert a FOIA request. This is a, you can click on this one here. Oh, shoot, it's not popping up for me. Hold on one second. No, I can't read it. It's too small a screen. Anyhow, you can go to this. It's on the New York Post. But this is really interesting. He does a testimony in front of Congress, and even a Democrat congressman sees how ridiculous this guy's testimony is. You got to watch this. Let's start this one here at 2:49, Dawson. This is, I don't even know this guy. I think he's from Maryland. Some Democrat on, no, it's the next link off of this page, Dawson. Back in the show notes. This is from the Twitter of Texas Lindsay. So 2:49 into this. Watch this. This is crazy.
Peter, I'm talking about you. Peter's not here. I just want to know if you thought this was ethically incorrect or improper, why didn't you report it to the ethics office?
What are you referring to as what being ethically improper?
Well, you just said you asked him why was he sending this to one email account when it should have gone to another one.
And you're asking me whether I thought what he was doing was unethical? What I was doing is unethical?
Sir, I think you're going to be haunted by your testimony today. And it's unfortunate. It's all on the record. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to many of us, certainly not to me. And I don't want to carry this on any further, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to yield back any time that I have remaining. I thank you for the opportunity.
And that's such a crazy thing. Earlier, he actually said, do you want to plead the fifth? As if, because this is like the Democrats. They don't want this guy to fall down. Like, they're for this guy. He was Anthony Fauci's right-hand man. And this guy's so ridiculous in his claims, and then basically what's been revealed in testimony, that this guy's like, this is going to haunt you. This is a Democrat. This is like I think, is he the ranking member? Does it say in that article, or on that, go back to that Twitter page here. Representative Mafum. Yeah, maybe he's not the ranking member. But anyhow, a Democrat saying that. You just know, they usually play politics. So you know how bad this guy is that he even says something like that. Don says, that's how it begun up here, and it's evolved into more, including some supporting an unendorsed candidate and getting removed from the party. Exactly. That's probably referring to up in Ottertail. Bill Dingston, the word on the street is that there are some big guests, pun intended, scheduled for your show on Thursday. Can you confirm or deny? I can confirm that. We do have Liberty Longbeard coming back on the show on Thursday. Oh. He's got a wings writer in his contract, so we'll have wings for him. And we have Jay from Rocks and Cows, Minnesota, apparently coming on the show too. So, and maybe some more guests coming in. But those two, I think, are confirmed. I know Liberty Longbeard is for sure confirmed. So that should be a lot of fun. Okay, after show, talk about Jesse, and we're going to talk about, what was the other topic I wanted to talk about? Oh, Royce. Okay. So if you're a member, we'll be live here again on locals, or the member-only locals. If you're not, quickly sign up. It's only $8 a month. I mean, at some point, you're probably supporting Fox. What was that Fox app that they had? Fox Nation, is that it?
Oh, I have no idea.
It was like $10 a month. That's much better. Way better. Get good inside information here. Don't give it to Fox Nation. Are you kidding me? By the way, I got lured into Fox Nation because they did a segment on Joe Rogan. I was like, oh, I really want to watch that. Oh, damn it. Got to go watch that now. I got to go pee. And then they did this series with Kevin Costner. It's not all bad. I mean, Rupert Murdoch's smart. He knows entertainment. Also knows how to get the wrong messages out and fire Tucker Carlson. So there you go. Support independent media. And this is the only place you're going to find stories like that HRCC story right here, the hypocrisy of the Republican establishment. I'm just waiting for them all to speak out against this. All right. Thank you to our sponsors today, Alpine Cabinetry in East St. Cloud, Warren Wessel of Warren Wessel Realty for buying a home or selling a home in Minnesota, Wisconsin, licensed in both. Give my good friend Warren a call at 612-419-7453. And if you're buying a home, give the good guys, the libertarian-minded gentlemen of John Galt Mortgage Company, a chance at financing your home. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. One of these days, I'll remember these phone numbers. I probably already remember that domain. You could Google John Galt Mortgage, and it'll come right up. That's another way you could do it. Or you could Google Warren Wessel, and it'll come right up. Okay? All right. Anyhow, thank you so much to our comments and our Rumble rant. Tucker keeping the streak going. Appreciate that very much. We're going to be live with our post show in just 2 minutes. Thank you.